in BBO, I see actually was noticed just about that, because not more than anything else. Because sorry, I repeat again. Yeah. In BBO, I see was just noticed, and that's about all. Because people didn't think of him as a future star or anything of that kind. Because he was in a supporting role, and he came off. That's it.
He did a good job in that.
Yeah, I mean, good job means he was never really into acting. He never thought of himself as an actor. He wanted to be a director. That's how he was assisting Suraj Bajatia, and that's what got him into Maine Pyar Kiya, because Suraj was looking for a new actor to co-star a new girl. It was supposed to be a purely, an innocent kind of a love story, two young people falling head over heels for each other, that's kind of thing. So I think to that extent it worked in the second film, and the film was such a big hit, and people thought of him as a possible prospect for the future. That's where it started.
And the euphoria Maine Pyar Kiya created for Salman.
Yeah. See, euphoria means only because the film was such a big hit, and not many, even at that stage, think that Salman is going to be a big star or anything of that kind. But fortunately for him, he was liked by people, the teen crowd, especially the girls, I remember those days I was editing Filmfare, and I used to get lots of letters for him from girls, in fact, and he created a kind of an image which appealed to the female audiences, that's what worked in his favor.
And subsequent films, there were 2, 3 films with Maine Pyar Kiya. There was a Bargain, yeah, and there was a Pathan Ki Phool. But they did not work so well.
No, they didn't work so well because that is not because of him, but because of him, they still sustained. I remember at one time he had more hits than the other contemporaries of his. I remember he had 6 hits in a row because they were all break-even films. They may not be big hits, except that one Sanam Bewafa, which was Savan Kumar Tak's film. It did very, very well at that time, and like that, he sustained himself. If he has 2 flops, then again he'll come up with a big, big hit. And then he had some of the biggest hits like Suraj's next film, that one, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, and films like that. He always had that kind of flair. He suddenly would come up with something out of the ordinary. May not be only because of him, because he was an actor who's totally in the hands of the director, a director who has a vision, who had a clear-cut, definition of what he wanted to do. So he could work with him. He was more like a Dharmendra of earlier times, people went for his, kind of a sex appeal and kind of a macho image more than performance ability. They didn't think of him as a performer like they would in the case of Amir Khan or anyone of that kind. Yeah.
It became, it made Salman actually a household name. All of that bad boy image he had,
yeah,
but he was this totally good boy and he was totally different character. What was the effect of the film?
See, the film itself appeals. It's a kind of a utopian film of a family, of a complete family, how people live for each other rather than anything else. It's a very pleasant film. There's no villain, there is no negative aspects to the film at all. There was life, there was maybe one death and things like that. And a lot of music and dance and things like that. It's a happy family, something which you don't get to see in real life. So I think people went for it in a big way. And he suited the role because, he was just one of those happy-go-lucky guys, who could be very pleasant and flamboyant, and not really doing anything spectacular in terms of histrionics. And that worked in his favor. And also the film itself. See, when a film does very well, you get noticed and you get all the possible accolades and everything. No, because he had a role which was very crucial to the story itself, And the thing is that the film did very well. And when a film does well, I think everybody in the cast, gets credit for that. Mostly it was Sanjay's film, Sanjay carried away walked away with all the sympathies and things like that. But Salman was noticed because he was a critical factor in the triangle, you know. So that's why it works, because Salman is more like a star, you know, a star actor, in the sense that someone like Devanand, you know, Devanand would always say that if I don't shake my head, you know, people may not appreciate me in a film, you know. They like my mannerisms, they like the way I walk, they like the way I talk. And I think Salman has same kind of a brand equity, like, you know, he, you know, takes off his shirt. And I don't know whether because of that film worked or not, but it, like a superstition, you know, lives with an actor. Like, if I did this, you know, it works. If I don't do that, people may not like it. Like, you know, but I don't know. There's no valid logic. You know, there's no logic to this kind of assumptions. Like, you know, a lot of people think, you know, it works because of this, and I'm sure there's no logic to it, because if they knew, then every film should be a hit. It doesn't happen that way. It's just, you know, the coincidence, like, you know, everything gels in a particular film, and then it works, and then people give credit to so many things, you know, including a table fan in the film gets credit for it, like, it's like that.
This whole trend of taking his shirt off,
Yeah.
did it add to the success of the film? What is this whole trend that he followed and he has to do it in every film?
I think it's too far-fetched to say because he took off his shirt, the film did well, you know. Maybe it contributed to it, and there's kind of a, you know, like I said, brand equity created for himself, being bare-chested, you know, that one of the earliest heroes to constantly do that kind of thing, maybe very early in life, like, you know, in Dharmendra, when he did that in Phoolo Pattar, it worked. And he's the first one among the current lot of heroes who did this kind of a thing. Maybe it contributed somewhere to his macho image, but I don't know because of that a film did well or not. You know, it's very difficult to say that kind of thing, because you can't attribute these kind of things to a film success. You know? Like when that film Gulam, Amir sang the song Aati Ke Khandala. Every hero went and sang, but it's not that the very act of the hero singing that worked. The timing and the entire context of the song, you know, which worked, you know, and the way it was presented. So there is no such rule that, you know, if you do take off your shirt, the film you know, works, or if you appear, you know, in a swimming costume, the film will do well. These things don't work that way at all. It's just the coincidence, you know, like, you know, in a given situation, a few factors work in each other's favor, and that helps the film. And that's the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
Like Andaz Apna,
Which one?
Andaz Apna,
Yeah.
which had become a cult film, although it was a flop.
It's a good comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a flop.
It did.
It did moderate. It's not a super duper hit, but it did well.
But then later on, it became to be more of a,
Yeah.
you know, people noticed it more.
Yeah.
He started his comedy.
Yeah.
In a way, in a major way, he started his, you know, restored comic flair again.
Yeah.
Andaz Apna, your comments?
I think he was good in Andaz Apna Apna, because his comic timing was not, he was good in Andaz Apna Apna. His comic timing was quite good, and then he matched wits with Amir very well, and they gelled together very well. Like, you know, and that was a good comedy and very well executed by Rajkumar Santoshi. It was a surprise coming from Rajkumar Santoshi after the serious films he had made. So it worked very well. And it's a question of, you know, where and in which film and what kind of a script you get. You know? And that's what works. It's a combination of so many things, just gels. Like, if you ask Ramesh Sippy today why Sholay became such a big hit, I don't think he has an answer to it. It's just that a film like Sholay happened, you know. So that's the way it works in our films, because it's mostly a gamble. They don't have a clear-cut script sense. They don't really work with the script because they keep on changing. As they keep making the film, they keep on changing every Friday, depending on what film became a hit and what became a flop. So it's just like that. In our kind of filmmaking, it's the circumstances, like, you know, and the combinations that work.
So, as an actor, what we saw that Sanjay Leela Bhansali, to an in the recent time, he's being able to get the acting out of someone, and he's maybe one of the only people who really got it out of someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
Actually, like I said, Salman is a great deal like the Dharmender of 60s, you know. So he needs a good director. In Dharmender in Rishikesh Mukherjee's hands could come out with great performances, even as a comedian. If you see Chupke Chupke, or in a serious film like Satyakam, he did extremely well. I would say Salman is very much like that. If he gets a good director, like Bansali is a terrific director where actors are concerned, he can get the best out of anyone. Like he has that ability to do that. So that's what worked in that case. So he needs a good, sensible director who knows the characterization right, and he can make the best of you know an actor's ability. It's a question of, in our case, the good dialogue delivery. In most of our films, what works is good dialogue delivery and well executed sequences. That's it.
Salman also continued doing these comedy films,
Yeah.
especially they were doing
Yeah.
films like Julwa, Mr. Shadikar, and recently
Yeah.
Partner. Do you think he was, he was very successful at that, or because of his own comic?
I think Salman is a functional actor. I would say that you can cast him in any role, and he can work wonders at times if he gets a good director and a good script, like I said. And other times he'll just pass off with his own personality and the kind of a presence and the appeal he has. He carries off the film. That's it. And I won't say that he works very hard at his performances and things like that. No, he is essentially a star in the same genre as Devanand is. Like he's like that. He's got an appeal for people. People come to see him, no matter what role he does. Just like Shah Rukh believes that. Shah Rukh believes that people come to see him, so he doesn't strain himself too much, like unless when he decides that he wants to give a good performance and comes out with a check day.
Salman does not really work hard on his script and does his homework. He's not that kind of actor.
No, I don't think he gets so involved with the script and all that. But his father was a part of one of the greatest script writing team we had, and I think he probably consults his father, and he must be having innate sense what will work and what will not. Beyond that, I don't think he works on his roles and he like Shabana Azmi is to do or Shabana Azmi is supposed to do. I don't think he works like that. He takes it in his stride, and then he's able to pull off things.
And some films that we see flop, that have
Yeah.
flopped, like a Garib and
Yeah.
a Veergati,
Yeah.
and even a Lucky. But they make that business. They have break-even films.
Yeah, that's because his films break even mainly because even the film, even if a film of Salman doesn't do very well, but they break even and get the investment back because there is a certain percentage of audiences which goes and sees film irrespective of whether the film is great or not, because they just go to see him, and that ensure that at least his films have a certain percentage of collection. That's why he's a star. Most stars do that function. They get the audience to the theaters in the first week or in the early stages. If you have that ability, it works.
Yeah, Tere Naam,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
very dramatic role. That's around
Yeah,
Tere.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
views on that film?
I mean, it's the same. Even Tere Naam, it's a typical Salman Khan performance where he was able to live up to that, live that character the way he could. I can't think of him like giving a new dimension to the role or working towards that. He's not bothered that way. He's got his own style. I mean, he's more of a stylist in a certain way, and he works within his limitations or within his assets or whatever you call. So he works like that, and that's the only reason I can think of Tere Naam working to that extent. But he is watchable at times. Like people like to see him. He comes even for a small role, and it works. Like in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, he had a very brief role, but I think people remembered him, irrespective of his contribution to the whole film.